All right, Squeaky Chair Productions. Oh, I didn't say that in a while. I haven't fixed my chair yet. Okay, so this video is going to be on the solution to life, to solve all your lifely problems. So you may be asking yourself, what do I know about the... Hey, you may be asking yourself, what do I know about the solution to life? And the answer to that is absolutely nothing. I don't know anything. So you might as well just stop listening now or stop watching or doing whatever because I don't really have the answer to any of your problems. But I have the answer to my problems. And sometimes the answers to my problems seem to help with other people's problems. So here's my solution to life and how I stay within myself and not get overburdened by all the insanity that's going on in the world. All right. So first off, the world has become so globalized and so crazy that it's like it. All right. So let me backtrack a little bit. All right. So like in 19 before the internet, whenever the heck that was, 1970 or whatever, you would have the Daily Gazette, right? And you guy would throw a newspaper on your lawn. You'd go out there, you'd read about it, and it would tell you stories about things that happened, like locally and maybe in the nearest city to you, and those kind of things. But it wasn't so globalized. Something happens in Azerbaijan, you're not getting it in your local paper, so therefore it really has no effect on your life or any of that other stuff. Well, since the internet, things have become greatly more globalized, and you're getting information like instantaneously. The second it happens, wham! It's on the news and it's on the internet. It's all over the place. So a few years back, not maybe more than a few years, whenever that Sandy Hook stuff, the Sandy Hook elementary school shooting or whatever, it was a school shooting, happened. I remember I came home from work and my wife was sitting on the couch and she was like just completely besides herself, crying, watching all the information about what's going on in Sandy Hook and all that other stuff. And it's a very, very, very sad story, right? But I wasn't as moved by the story as she was. I mean, she was thinking about the mortality of her own kids, and she was thinking about how cruel the world is and how people could be this way, and like how this could happen to us, and all the precautionary measures that we have to take, and what are we going to do from this point on to protect our family and to protect our kids, and should she write letters to the mothers of these children to help them ease their pain, and all of this stuff, right? See, I saw it a different way. The way I saw it is that is so far removed from the everyday things that are going on in my life and my family's life that I almost felt like I had no business being in that business. You know what I mean? Like it was almost disrespectful to try to insert myself into that. So if I put myself in that situation, right? My kids go to school gets shot up, my kids get hurt, get killed, get whatever, right? I feel like I don't want somebody from across the country or across the world sending me stuff about something they have no idea about. Like, I could just assume that anytime anybody gets killed in anything, people are sorry for that. You know what I mean? So if I have a family member that passes away or I have a kid that passes away, the only people that are truly, truly concerned with that, in my opinion, would be me, my parents, my brothers and sisters, some of their friends, their teachers, people who actually cross paths with them in their life, who know them and know about them and feel a certain way about them. Those people can mourn the fact that that is no longer in their life. You know what I mean? But to mourn these global events that are happening, on such a personal level and really, really feel like not only you're a part of that, but now you have to change your life or you have to reevaluate something because of these things happening, seems to me like you're adding this extra added burden onto your life that really doesn't need to be there. You have a a ferry capsizes in I don't know, Scotland or something, and people go crazy about it. Listen, I remember when my kid had a notebook, right? And on the notebook, she came home from school one day, and on the notebook it said Coney 2012, Kony. Now I don't know if you guys remember what that was, but it was like in some, I think it was Africa somewhere. Like this militia goes into a town and they snatch up all these girls. I think like hundreds of them. I'm not 100% sure on all the details. And then they go and they take them away and they're holding them hostage, whatever. So this movement, Coney 2012, started, and it was like everybody was going to write this, and everybody was going to do something about it. I don't know if there was donations of money or whatever. Like, it was like a big movement. It was like a big thing, and it was like everyone had to get involved, and people were holding up things saying, "Bring our girls back," and like all of that other stuff. And I kind of just felt like, yo, mind your business. You know what I mean? Like, it has nothing to do with you. The government of whatever country that is going to take care of that, or they're not, or they're whatever. And if you burden yourself with every single tragedy that goes on in the world, you'll find that you're constantly on edge. You're constantly worried about other things. You're constantly feeling like, what's next and all that other stuff. And I feel that, when a plane crashes in Malaysia, it's not world news. Is it world news that a plane crashed? Yes, it's world news that a plane crashed. It's tragic. A couple hundred people die. It's horrible that happened. But do we now need to know every personal detail of everybody that was on that plane and what their hopes, dreams, and aspirations were? And do we need to talk to their cousins and have them interviewed so we have a better understanding on who that person was that was in seat 16F that passed away in this tragedy? Like, do we need that? Maybe the mother and father and the brother and the sister and the cousin and the teacher and friends, and maybe they need that. But I think that it's playing at the heartstrings or tugging at the heartstrings of the media doing that to people that necessarily doesn't need to be done. Now, how do you translate that into your own life? Well, you translate that into your own life, in my opinion, is dealing with you as an individual, right? It's like clean up your own. You know when they say like in a plane, oh, if a plane is going to crash and you're sitting next to a kid or sitting next to an elderly or sitting next to somebody else, and the masks come down, put your mask on first to ensure that you can, breathe and all that other stuff, and then help other people. Because if you're helping other people and you're losing your consciousness or whatever, and you pass out, now there's a chance that you're not going to get saved, they're not going to get saved, nobody's going to get saved. So focus on yourself first, and then move outwards from that direction, right? So what is one of the biggest, or what are some of the biggest contributors to our failure? A lot of contributors to our failure is we're always looking for someone else to blame. We're constantly always saying like it's somebody else's fault, it wasn't me, and all that other stuff. Instead of just looking inwards and saying like, yeah, I didn't get the job because I wasn't good enough, or I didn't get this because I didn't work hard enough, or I didn't figure this thing out because I probably could have done more. I probably could have figured that out. And what I find is a lot of people that I talk to, and for a while, including myself, we have built-in excuses, right? We always can find an excuse. You can always find a reason. You can always be in a situation goes south, it doesn't go the way you plan, you go home, you go on social media and you say, oh, I can't believe that these people did this, that, and the other thing, and that's what the problem is, and it's not my fault, it's theirs, and that's why we hate these people. So you can always find a built-in excuse. My built-in excuse, I had two built-in excuses. One built-in excuse was I came from a broken family. My mother and father got divorced when I was young. So from the moment they got divorced, any failure that happened in my life, I could very easily say is, well, because I had a broken family. You know what I mean? Like well, it must be nice that you have a mother and a father who live in your same house and that, everything's great. Your parents been married for 25 years. Must be nice to be you. Well, I didn't have that. So I had some kind of struggle that you didn't have. So therefore, you have to look at me as somebody who had less opportunity or less chances in life than you did. So therefore, the only reason why that happened is because they knew I was from a broken family, and they're just playing unfair politics, So that was my number one built-in excuse. My number two built-in excuse was that I'm from New York and I moved out of New York. Um, the problem with moving out of New York was I had this horrible accent that I can't seem to get rid of no matter what I do. It doesn't make a difference you're out of New York for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. It doesn't seem to make a difference because no matter what I say to people, the first sentence out of their mouth is, oh, where are you from? Like literally, I could say anything, and sometimes I'll say things in the first sentence knowing that they're not listening. They're just going to come right out and they're just going to say, huh, that's a weird accent. Where you from? You know? And strangely enough, I could say to somebody, oh my God, I need help. My house is on fire. And they'd be like, where's that accent from? And I'm like, did you just hear what I said? Let me. And another way I can tell that people don't care where I'm from is because someone would say, where's that accent from? And I used to say, oh, from San Fernando Valley Springs in Florida. My father moved us down there when I was younger, and I must have picked up his accent or something. And people were like, oh wow, that's interesting. Then it got to the point where I would just say, people say, oh, where are you from? And I'd say Florida. And I go, Florida, really? I wouldn't have guessed that. I would have guessed somewhere from Northeast, and I would say, no, I'm from Florida. And I'd go, oh, anyway, and we'd carry on a conversation, which would make me think, they have no idea. But anyway, so the second built-in excuse was that I was from New York. And for some reason, matter of fact, I had a guy tell me one time in a conversation, yeah, well, I don't know if I want to do that because, I don't really trust city people. I thought to myself, you don't trust city people? Now, I could have just said, well, no, okay, I could see your point of view on that, and I could, whatever, walk away, go home, go on, social media and be like, oh my God, guess what happened to me? So I was in a coffee shop and I was talking to this guy, and he had the nerve to say to me that he doesn't trust city people, and I couldn't even believe it. I just left, and therefore we need to, boycott this coffee place, and this is unfair, and we need to do something about it. But instead, what I did was, I listened to what he said, and I said, wait, what? And he said, well, I don't trust city people. And I said, what makes you not trust city people? And he went on his thing about, oh, because of this or because of that, whatever. And I said, so is that really a reason to like blanket all city people? Because I would like to say that I'm probably one of the most trustworthy people there is. And I gave him my background, and I gave him why I think I'm so trustworthy and all these other things or whatever. Long story short, after the conversation, whether he, was willing to trust people or not, I don't know. But what I do know is that I might have made him think about it next time. I might have made him say like, yeah, that was kind of a screwed up thing. I shouldn't have said like, oh, just off the bat, I just don't trust city people, because that's kind of a weird thing to say. So to kind of bring that point around is, I don't subscribe to groups, right? I don't subscribe to, the Broken Family group. I don't subscribe to the Don't Trust Me Because I'm from New York group. I don't subscribe to like any of that stuff, right? I'm the here, I'm the now, this is who I am, and you deal with me now. And if there is something that is happening, you solve that problem as it happens, like I did, right? The guy said he doesn't trust city people. I could have walked away. Instead, I said, no. No. So I find that if you solve your problems as they happen, right? If you solve, issues of, but let me give you an example. Well, anyway, so if you solve problems as if you're being discriminated against because you didn't get a job, because you didn't get any of that stuff, you solve that as it happens, in their face, right down. Hey, can I ask you a question real quick? It seems to me that this is the case. It seems to me that I came from a broken household, and that's why you're saying that I can't be a marriage counselor. Or I came from a broken home, so that you're saying that means I can't work in this daycare center. You're saying that I don't have something that these people do have, and I would like to have a little discussion about that on, one, why is that? Or two, okay, if that's the case, how do I combat that next time for the next job interview that I go to? How do I figure out, or what can I achieve, or what can I make different? So then when I go to the next interview, they go, yeah, the guy came from a broken home, but, he went to all this counseling and all this other stuff and blah, blah, blah. And then you can present that. You know what I mean? So you have to solve your own problems as they happen, and not be overly concerned with what the large group of people are doing. Because if I say, well, I came from a broken home and therefore I'm being treated differently than everybody else, and I go online and I go to the broken home divorced family website, everybody there is going to share in their misery and say like, yeah, me too, that's crazy that I had to be treated the same way, and my mother and father and my this and my that, and all that other craziness. You know what I mean? The truth of the matter is that I came from a broken household, but my father loved me very much. My mother loved me very much. My sisters and brothers loved me very much. Everything, like I grew up in a great situation where I don't have any complaints about it or any of that other stuff. But that excuse is there in case I fail. In case I fail, I can always say, well, it's not my fault. It's somebody else's. But the truth is, when I fail, it's my fault. It's nobody else's. It's not the people that happened before me. It's not, what happened 10 years ago or 20 years ago or 30 years ago. It's the here and now. I learn from my mistakes. I correct them. I find ways that I can make myself better in life. And then I go back after something that I may not have been able to get, right? So, one of the points that I wanted to make on that was, I said like the guy I solved the problem right there on the spot, right? The guy had an issue with trusting city people. I brought it up, we discussed it, and I felt like it was solved right there. When I was in Singapore, right? Singapore has all of these crazy rules. They have rules and regulations for everything. And then they have fines, and the fines are just astronomical. Like, if you don't flush a public toilet, it's $1,000. All right, so my camera shut off for some reason, so that was kind of weird. So this is going to kind of get spliced in, and I'll finish my point that I was making. So in Singapore, right, if you don't flush a public toilet, it's $1,000 fine, right? If you litter, right, if you throw a piece of trash on the ground or whatever, it's a $500 fine. If I don't know, there was a story years and years ago that happened in Singapore where I think he was an American, might have been from the UK or something. But he goes to Singapore and he writes graffiti on some cars, right? So they arrest him and they do all that other stuff, and then they say that he's going to get 40 lashes, right? Now 40 lashes is with this bamboo stick like that has like these bamboo things on it, whatever, right? It's like a stick, but it's like round like this, and then it comes to a tip at the end, and there's like these bamboo slots that are on it. So when you hit somebody with it, it's devastating. But anyway, so he was going to get 40 lashes. The kid, I think, was like 17 or something like that, and they were going to treat him like an adult and all this other stuff. So there was a cry throughout the land about the humanity of it, and you can't beat kids with sticks and all this other stuff. But Singapore's like, oh well, because that's what we're going to do. Because if you come here and you spray paint, we're going to beat you with a stick. So they have like this 19th degree, like ninja, samurai sword guy, and he's the trained professional with the stick or whatever. And he goes beating on this kid. Wham! All right, strike one. Wham! All right, that's lash number 2. Wham! Like after like 10 lashes of this thing, this kid passes out, right? So instead of just beating him 30 more times and being done with it, they wait for him to wake up. They wait for him to shake it out. They put a little water on his face. You okay? You all right? You good? All right? Good. All right. Wham! There's number 11. Wham! There's number 12. Like, they're ruthless, right? But I bet you people ain't spray painting in the country anymore. But anyway, so I digress. I bring it all back here. So all right, flushing public toilets, littering. If you chew gum or even bring gum into the country, they treat it like you're smuggling in heroin. Like, I don't know why it's so big or whatever, but that's one of like the biggest things. Like gum in Singapore is, bonkers, right? But here's the beauty of Singapore. Unlike here in the United States, where, how many times have you been like behind somebody at a light and a guy flicks a cigarette butt out the window? Or he crumbles up a candy wrapper and throws it out the window, or a soda cup or whatever. You don't ever do anything about it. You're just like, look at that idiot. You know what I mean? Like, dummy. You know what I mean? And you keep on moving. Well, in Singapore, that's not how it works. Here in the United States, if you do something and it's not in the view of a cop, then, oh, well, the chances are you're not going to get caught. But in Singapore, if you do it, it's the other citizens that'll tell on you. You know what I mean? Like, you sitting at a bus stop, you flick a cigarette butt, that guy will look at you like, yo, my man, better go pick that up. You know what I mean? And if you don't, then they're going to go find a cop. And the beauty of it is that there's integrity and honesty within the country, where if a guy goes to a cop and says, hey, see that guy standing over there? he just threw a cigarette butt on the ground. And the cop walks over and that guy is standing there and there's a cigarette butt on the ground. He has no reason to believe that this guy was lying. So he's going to snatch you up and you got some fines to pay. You know what I mean? So why do I say all that? Why do I say all of that is because in the United States, if we had that kind of honesty and that kind of integrity where, you know, somebody's being, you know, treated wrong or being treated differently or somebody's discriminated against somebody else or whatever, and we were that strong where we were like, hey, yo, you can't do that. You can't treat people like that. You know what I mean? You need to apologize to this person. Or we see what you're doing. You know what I mean? So you need to stop doing that. If we start taking on a role like that, where we say that we're going to hold ourselves accountable, but at the same time, is people in our immediate area that are around us, that are affecting what we do, we're going to hold them accountable too. And we're going to ensure that when people are doing wrong or people are doing things they aren't supposed to be doing, that we're going to correct the situations and we're going to solve that right there. You know, so if you're being treated in a way differently for any reason, if you're a man or a woman or black or white or fat or tall or short or whatever, you have to have the courage to solve that problem right then. Don't have built-in excuses. Don't have built-in excuses because other people tell you that you have built-in excuses. Don't subscribe to groups because people say that, you know, oh, you should be in this women's group where, you know, we all think that women aren't being treated right, or you should be in this black or white or Hispanic or Asian group that says that people are being discriminated against because of these things or whatever. Look inside yourself and be able to say to yourself, that person discriminated against me, so I'm going to solve that problem. That organization treated me differently because I'm a woman, so I'm going to solve that situation. You know, a lot of the times, you know, they say, you know, there's this gap in gender hiring and all that other stuff, right? Did anyone ever think like that the person that applies for a job and gets offered $30,000 vice the person who gets applied for a job and gets offered $60,000, that individual person might be okay with that. That individual person is like, listen, I just want to get my foot in the door, so I don't give a damn what you pay me. I'm willing to take less just to be able to move up. Like, we don't know that individual's person's feeling on the matter. You know what I mean? And if they don't want to get paid $30,000 while everyone else is getting paid $60,000, don't you think it's their responsibility, or don't you think it's they need to have the courage to stand up and go, whoa, hold on. Yeah, I know I've been working here for 2 months, but I just talked to Bob. Bob has the same job I do. I'm a female. He's a male. We're doing the exact same thing. We work 8 hours a day. We work on the computer. Like, what gives? Like, what are we doing here? Like, what happened? And hold people accountable instead of just being like, I'm going to go home and I'm going to get on the computer and I'm going to say like, women, we need to stand up because this isn't fair and we need to be in groups and we need to do all that other stuff, right? So the solution to the world, the solution to the problems, the solution to life is solving your problems as they happen and being within yourself on solutions. Don't be overly worried about what others are doing. Clean up your yard before you go to help other people. Put on your oxygen mask before you help the elderly and the young and all that other stuff that's around you. And have a good understanding on where you fit into the world. Don't use excuses. Don't worry about what happened in the past. Don't do any of that other stuff. Live for you. Live for right now. Make things happen by being successful at what you do and solving your own problems. And you, too, will have the solution to life to have a better understanding on how successful and how great and how wonderful things could be by getting rid of all the other crap, getting rid of all of the globalized stuff. Read a thing. A bus falls off a bridge and lands in the water in China. Yeah, that's sad. Okay, keep it moving. You know what I mean? Like, it's great. You don't need to, read their bios. You don't need to send letters to their family. You don't need to take, $20 out of your pocket and give it to them and, any of that other stuff. You just read these things and you just keep it moving. Because in the grand scheme of things, if it doesn't affect you, your spouse, your mom, your dad, your brothers, your sisters, your friends, your teachers, your loved ones in your community, is it really any of your business? Is it really anything that you need to be concerned with? Is there really anything that you could do about it? I venture to say it's not. So why burden yourself with it? Make yourself okay first, then you can worry about other people. When you make yourself okay first and you start becoming successful and you start having more money and you start having more global footprint in the world and all that other stuff, then maybe all that stuff changes. But until you get to that spot, you just need to pump your brakes. You just need to worry about yourself, take care of who's around you, put your oxygen mask on first, and then go help others. Thank you.